Welcome to the Adulting Podcast. I'm Zach Peter, a naturally platinum blonde podcaster, author, and sassy self-improvement addict spewing all those burning questions you're too afraid to ask.
And I'm Abigail Fraher, an unfiltered boss babe, daylighting as a lifestyle guru, stirring the pot on social issues. We're here to help you look cute,
Live well,
work hard,
and stay woke.
Together,
let's conquer adulting. Welcome back to Adulting, everybody. I'm Zach Peter.
And I'm Abigail Fraher.
How you doing, boo? I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Just,
Adulting.
rocking along. Yeah, just adulting. It's great.
Or trying.
Yes.
Adulting and trying.
I feel like today's episode is going to help us a bit with that.
No, I agree. I was gonna say, whether you're self-employed or like in debt or your sugar daddy just ditched you, like I feel that. I feel it in my soul, to be honest. Like when it comes to money or like debt or investing, I get so lost just trying to adult in all of it. I know, Abigail, you feel the same way. Like we're just trying to make sense of the money.
Like they all it's like the best and worst part of being an adult. Like you have your own money, but like, how do you use it?
How do you use it and not just like send it all playing the Venmo video game?
Exactly.
Like when it comes to stocks, the only thing like I know about stocks is when Target says that they're out of something online.
Zach's like, is it in stock? I love you. I just started getting more acclimated with stocks this year. I think like COVID's been like a huge part of that, but also, all the GameStop drama, and it's coming way more to like front focus. And there's so many things that I feel like I wasn't necessarily explained in school or even from my parents, where it's like I'm teaching myself to have a more financially stable future and all of that. So I'm excited and I'm ready for this episode.
I am too. And here to help us stay on our money, please welcome the founder and CEO of Girls on the Money, Mabel Nunez.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. So I appreciate the invitation and to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is investing and money management. So thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. My sister and I have a little back and forth. I feel like Instagram's the place where we talk about finances. Like, it's weird. Like we don't really ever text about it, but on Instagram, like we'll always be like sending each other these things. And we both follow like multiple accounts, and like I bought some stock in the NASDAQ this morning, and then like I made money already. Like it was great. It was a great day. But she sent me, she kept throughout, the past few weeks sending me some of your posts, and I was like, oh my gosh, we have to get you on here. And so my sister also sent me some questions to ask you. So I have it like all ready to go, and we're really excited.
Yes, thank you.
Do it.
Excited. So I'm honored that you guys have followed my work. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Community.
Yeah, 100%. And basically, because you're a little intimidating, we're going to be honest. You're a woman that knows what she's doing with her finances, and two, like money, I feel like is a very empowering thing. And when you know what to do with it, like that could be intimidating for people. So we're going to play a little game that we call Espresso Yourself. And I'm going to start a sentence. You're going to finish it. And that'll just kind of bring you back down to everyday person level where they can get to know you a little bit.
I'm nervous. Let's do it. Okay. I'm scared.
So you're just it's super easy. Whatever comes to mind, you're just going to finish the sentence for me. So the first one is, I can't get through my day without
coffee. First thing in the morning.
I mean, I feel like that is like good. You just became a normal human.
Like, how do people just like start their day without like caffeine? I don't know. More power to those people, but that's not
right. And then the next one is, to stay fit.
To stay fit, I walk. So I love going on walks. Mainly when the weather is nice, like today in New York is beautiful. It's sunny, it's warm, it's like 60 degrees.
Beautiful.
I'm excited today about it. Yeah. So but I walk like regardless of the weather, sometimes like all bundled up or depending on the weather. But that's the number one thing that I do. So
that's great. Zach just gets blessed with nice weather all year round being in LA. So
I don't recommend anybody ever come to Los Angeles because the weather is just awful here.
Horrible.
Stay away.
I don't believe
Right. And then the next one is I feel sexiest when.
Ooh, oh my God. I feel sexiest when I'm dancing. So I'm Latina. So I love to dance like merengue, salsa, bachata, which is from the Dominican Republic. I haven't danced in so long because of the pandemic and I've been hiding in my
Yeah.
apartment for like, the last year. But yeah, I love it. And I can't even tell you when I'm gonna go back to like going to like the club or if that even exists anymore. But yeah, just
Right.
dance.
Well, I'm always like, what's gonna happen? Oh, I wish I could salsa. Zach, can you salsa?
I don't think I can salsa. I can twerk or I can try.
He can twerk to salsa music. There we
Yeah, I
go.
can twerk to salsa music.
That works too.
And then our last one is I feel most like a boss
When I look at my investment account, I love the companies that I own. So most of my investments are individual stocks, but I'm very particular about what I invest in. Like it has to be like top of the like cream of the crop companies, leaders and stuff like that. So when I look at my investments, I'm like, oh my God, like I own a piece of this business and that business. So yeah, definitely that's a big part of it.
Well, I mean, I think you just led us right into, I mean, this was a question for later, but we're just going to start with it because you led us right into that. What does a person do who knows absolutely nothing about the stock market and they want to, start investing or, instead of their money just sitting in a savings account, they want to actually make it work for them. Like, where do they start? What's step 1 through 3? What are the top 3 things you could do?
Perfect. So I guess before I jump into that, I do want to emphasize something that you've seen in my posts on Instagram and my content. I do advocate for an emergency fund. So if somebody doesn't have that yet, like a few $1,000s, whatever you feel comfortable with, please invest in building an emergency fund first because the
Okay.
stock market is amazing. Like you can make a lot of money in the stock market, but the way I look at it is like over time.
Sure.
And you don't want to be in a position where all your money that's supposed to be for an emergency is invested and you're like, oh my God, like something happened or, the pandemic happened and it came out of nowhere. So you want to have money set aside. So let's assume that it's somebody that has, some money in a savings account, safe and protected for, whatever
A rainy day.
Yes, exactly. So
Flat tire.
yeah, exactly. Like any random thing that can happen, emergencies like just show up. They don't tell you, hey, I'm coming next week. They just like show up unannounced. So I would say it's very easy in this day and age to start investing. You don't need a middleman, a broker, a banker. You don't need any of that. I would say the first step is just to open an investment account. And that's very easy to do. Like if you've ever opened like a checking account online or apply for a credit card online, the process is very similar. So not like, there's no like crazy questions, like, your name, your social, whatever. I don't know if can I name some examples
Oh,
of
please.
Sure.
accounts? So I'm an advocate for online brokers. So, and by that I mean, for example, TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Ally Invest. Those are online brokers, like full-fledged investment accounts that are free, that you can open on your own from your home, very easy to use. Apps, on the other hand, are things like Robinhood and Acorns and stuff like that, which are fine. Like I have nothing against those companies; they're amazing, but they're like more like quick, like just quick, kind of like the basics type of thing apps. And the great thing about them is that they made it easier for just the average person to start
The
investing.
interface is super easy.
Yeah, super easy. Exactly. They made it less intimidating, which is amazing. They made it free. So back in the days, we had to pay to buy stocks and stuff like that. So people like Robinhood and stuff and those type of companies, they were the first ones that made it free. So they're great, but they're just basic apps. So my preference, just a personal choice, and what I share with my audience is the online brokers. And you can just the application process is the same. They're both free. And just open an account. Step 2 would be put some money in there. whatever you can afford, $50, $100, $1,000, anything. Back in the days, there used to be like a minimum requirement to start investing. That's eliminated. Like today, in this day and age, you don't need a minimum. So anything you have, 50 bucks, whatever, fund the account. And then you have two options. This is step three. You can either buy stock in a company that you like, and not just that you like, but a company that you believe will still be around in the next 3 to 5 years. Don't buy something that you're like, okay, this is the hot stuff today, and like, I don't know where they're gonna go tomorrow, but let me just get in there because they're just hot today. That's a big mistake with investing. Just think about company. You can write it down. Like, think of companies like, okay, I love this company. I know it's going to be around in the next 3 to 5 years, 10 years. Those could be a good introduction to stocks. Or you can go the other route, which is like an index fund or an ETF. And I could explain what that means. But it's just, for example, if you just wanted to buy the entire stock market, like all the companies in the stock market, you can do that through something called a total market ETF or a total market index funds. And companies like Vanguard or Fidelity and many others, they offer very low fee funds like that. So that could be another option. You can buy the whole market, or you can just buy a couple of shares of a stock that you like. And that's step three. And that's it. You're an investor. Like, it's not rocket science. And that's just how you start. And then obviously you build on that as time goes by. But those are just like the three basic steps.
And so I feel like, go ahead.
Real quick, going back to step one, is that the account, the investment account, is that something we can do through our banks, or do we have to go through some of the companies that you mentioned?
That's a great question. Some banks are starting to offer online brokerage accounts. I think like Chase
does.
Chase does, yeah.
And so some of them do. So you have to check with the bank that you have. You can check, do they have that option? But for the most part, I've found that they're a little bit separate from that. Like, I don't know. I mean, if you have an account with Fidelity, which is like a famous company, maybe you can open an online broker through them, or Vanguard or Schwab. So you just have to double check if your bank has it, which is great, because that way the application process will be even easier. But yeah, you would have to double check, and also make sure that it's going to be free for you to invest, because let's assume that your bank offers an online broker, but then they're going to charge you a fee to invest. Why would you do that when you can just get a free account? So that's another thing to keep in mind.
And for people that are new to investing in stocks, are you doing this? Like, what is the headspace going into it? Is it because you're trying to make more money? And is it going to be like time consuming, like a second job? Like, what is the time commitment and the headspace that we should consider with going into investing in stocks?
That's a great question, because people think, like, I'm going to have to sit down and research this company for like a month or 3 weeks or whatever. It doesn't have to be that way, especially when you're first starting out. That's why I say, like, the simplest thing you can do is take out a piece of paper, write out a list of companies, like 5 to 10 companies that you love. Maybe you buy their products,
GameStop.
buy their services.
Number one, GameStop.
All right, so that's where, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. So, then you got to ask yourself, am I buying this because I believe that in the next 10 years, GameStop as a company is going to be around? And
yes, like Blockbuster.
Exactly. So that's why you want to ask yourself those questions, because like you said, I love that you brought that up, because people are like, oh my God, let me buy GameStop because my whole family's buying it. My neighbor told me about it, like, without even thinking about the fact, like, where is that going to be in 5-10 years? That's why you got to ask yourself those questions before you invest in something. And this is something that I teach in my boot camp and my courses, but you can also look at the financials of the company, and that's a little bit more like advanced. It's not time consuming by any means. You just have to know where to look for this information. So for example, a website like Yahoo Finance, for instance, they give you free data. Like, you can check out, like, are they making any money? Do they have any cash in their whatever balance sheet? Do they have any debt? You can look into those factors if you want to dig deeper. My point is, don't just buy random things because they're popular today. Like, where are they going to be in 5-10 years? And then that can help you make your decision.
I also feel like movies romanticize the stock market and they make it super like intimidating and scary. And like options trading, which we're not even going to get into that today because I think that's more deeper than the average person just getting into it. But that's where it's like these quick turnarounds and everything's quick and the money's big and it's more dangerous. But investing in the stock market, the best thing that like I've read, and I know that you can second this, is it's a long-term game. It's not a, hey, if you need to get money back in, under a year, like yeah, that can happen, but it's definitely it's for your future. You're investing for years down the road.
Yeah, I'm trying to be the next Wolf of Wall Street.
Right?
No.
Things worked out for him, right? I haven't finished the movie.
Oh my God, no, it's
So
horrible.
I feel like this generation is very different than our parents. We're not living in the same world where they are. We have different financial issues. I mean, there's different issues with the government, there's issues with Social Security, all of these things. What are the best ways, as someone who's in their late 20s or early 30s, if they feel like they missed the boat jumping in their like early 20s, what can they do to catch up?
Yeah, so great question. I would, first of all, you didn't, like, whoever's watching this and is in that situation, I just want you to know that you didn't miss the bus. There's still plenty of time to catch up. Like, thankfully we're living longer. Like, fingers crossed, you have a lot of years ahead of you to like make that, start saving and investing and make that money work for you. So I would say first, look, if you have an employer right now, are you contributing to like the 401k that they have? Some companies have a match. One of my first investment decisions ever was just contributing to my company's 401k. It was just as easy as that, like fill out an application and have them take money out, and that money grows and multiplies, faster than you would think. Like, if anybody has ever put money in a 401k, you know that without you having to do anything, that money just grows. So that's one place to look at it if you have that option. If not, that's okay. There's other options, like a Roth IRA can also be an amazing alternative. And that, again, that's an account that you can, again, open on your own. You can sit down on your home computer, look up any of the brokers that I mentioned earlier, and they also have Roth IRA options or traditional IRA options. And you don't need a middle person. You just have to know that is there, and you can just apply on your own. And you can do a Roth, or you can do a traditional IRA, and then, whatever money that you can save, allocate towards those type of things.
Now, will you go into detail, just definition wise for our listeners, the difference between the Roth IRA and the traditional IRA and when taxes are taken out?
Yeah, so the Roth, so they work very differently. So glad you brought that up. So the Roth is funded with after tax money. So it's, when you have a job and they take out your taxes and they give you your whatever income is left over after that. I know there's a technical term that I cannot remember for that. That money is what you can allocate to a Roth IRA. So it's money that has already been taxed. And the advantage of that is that if you allocate money towards a Roth and you invest it, you have to invest it. So another important thing is that some people say, hey, I open a Roth and I send some money there and that was it. You have to invest it. It cannot just sit in the account. You have to allocate it towards stocks or index funds or mutual funds, whatever it is. You cannot just send it to the account and let it be, because 20 years from now, if you send $12,000, you're gonna see the same 12,000. So you gotta invest it. So that's one thing. So anyway, so what I was saying was that the advantage of that is that when you retire, like the money grows and compounds, that's been invested is multiplying for you. When you reach the age of 59 and a half or older, you can cash out that money tax-free. So the gains from your investments, the money that you allocated was already taxed. What I'm talking about was the money that grew from your investments that you can take out tax-free as well, as long as you wait till you're 59 and a half. So that's a huge advantage of that.
And most people are in a higher tax bracket when they retire than they are obviously, in their 30s. So that's the benefit there. Whereas the traditional is the opposite, correct?
Exactly. The traditional takes out money before it's taxed. So you get like a tax, when you file your taxes, you get a tax break. Like if you allocated, if you are a high income earner and you make a lot of money and you want to kind of like don't give the IRS all your money, you can open a traditional IRA so that you're getting a tax break up front. It reduces your taxable income. So let's say that you put it up to the I think it's 6,500 limit. I can't remember.
A
So
6,000 now.
6,000. Okay, so that reduces, if you allocate that to during a tax year, it reduces your taxable income by that amount, so you don't have to pay as much taxes. So it's a good option for people that make a lot of money and they want to, kind of like not pay a lot in taxes. So yeah, so it works the exact opposite. But then when you retire, you have to pay taxes on the money that you're taking out.
Can you have both? Is it common to have both?
You can have both. The only thing is that I think the limit is combined. So you cannot have 6 and 6. You have to have like maybe 3.
Zach's trying to sneak by.
Good question though. Yeah, but you can.
Now, what happens if you reach your max? You hit your 6,000 for the year. Where do you recommend putting additional money?
So the
under your mattress.
Duh.
Right, exactly. The 401k, if you have it, there's a limit. So I'm not a tax professional, so you have to be careful with the limits and your tax bracket and how much you can allocate. So the 401k is also an option. If you maxed out all your retirement account options, then I would recommend the regular how you call it, individual investment accounts where you can invest in stocks on your own. And the advantages of that is that they're not tied to retirement age. So let's say that you invested some money in your 20s or 30s, and then when you're in your 50s, you're like, you know what, I want to travel the world and I have this investment account that's not tied to retirement. You can just cash out your money with no penalties or whatever, because it was an individual investment account. So you can do that, as well.
So much information.
Yes, a lot.
And then, Zach, did you have something? I didn't want to cut you off.
No, go for it.
I think the largest issue that people in their 20s and 30s face is debt. Whether it be debt from school, debt from the credit card, and you just had to do that shopping trip, debt from a car, all those things. What would you say were your top 5 hacks for staying debt free or reducing debt and creating better spending habits as a person?
So I don't know about like hacks and stuff like that. Like I feel like you just have to be serious with yourself. Like if you have a lot of credit card debt or like a lot of high interest debt, that's another thing. Like I would recommend investing and getting rid of that. Because
before investing,
especially if it's I'm specifically talking about like high interest credit card debt, because that could be 18%, 20%, whatever. When it comes to like student loans and things of that sort, I wouldn't wait to pay that off in full before investing, because student loans are it'd be astronomical, and the interest is less than a credit card, obviously, for the most part. And you can get like some breaks from the government, like we have been since the pandemic happened. Like some people get like, they don't have to pay any interest on their whatever, or they can pause it with no penalty. So that's it. I put that in a different category. What I'm referring to is like the credit card. Yeah, because it's just too much. And even if you make some money in the market, it's never going to negate the fact that you have credit card debt multiplying on a daily basis and at a massive percentage. So I would say, yeah, that should be priority before allocating money toward investments.
Now, growing up, when it comes to debt, growing up, I was always taught no credit cards, no debt, stay away from that. But as I'm getting older, I'm seeing the value in racking up certain debt for like a credit score. Is that something that you endorse?
I would agree with the fact, I wouldn't say credit cards are the devil and don't touch them or whatever. I'm not in that group. I feel that there's a lot of advantages. Like you said, you build your credit. Also, you can get points for, you can make them work for you for, travel stuff. You want to make those credit cards work for you. What you don't want to do is fall into the trap of like the trap that banks want you to fall into, because the reason why they give you all these bonuses, all these points, it's because they're hoping and praying that you don't pay your credit card bills on time so that they can charge you fees and multiply your interest and leave you there stuck for the rest of your life. That's their plan. Like, remember that's their magic plan in their businesses. So you want to make that work for you. So yeah, take advantage of the points, take advantage of the protection of credit cards, because if you're paying with your debit everywhere, and God forbid a hacker gets into your personal account, it's your money. That it feels worse than if it was like the credit card company's money. Like, you can just call them up, like, my card was hacked. They put your money
Right.
back in there, they'll investigate. Whereas when you have a debit account, that's like, some banks will even say, it's not our problem or whatever. So that's another thing, protection. So there's a lot of benefits. Just make it work for you. Don't fall into the trap that banks want you to fall into.
Don't
And
get
the-
that Target debit or that Target credit card, Zach. You
The
don't need
Target
it.
credit card.
Yeah.
I actually love
I actually
Target.
don't have a Target credit card. You have a Target credit card?
No, I don't. But you get like 3% back. So every time I go in, I'm like, oh, do I do it? And I'm like, no, you're fine.
You don't need it. Get it
You
from
don't need it.
your other cards. Maybe you have a
Exactly.
card that gives you money back. So use that
I
one.
do. I do have a cash back. I need to switch it up though when we can start traveling again and get one that does the travel perks, because we're gonna need to go somewhere, Zach.
Yes, we are.
And then this is a question too. I know you're in New York, I'm in New York and LA, and Zach's in LA. People are buying homes. Some people are buying homes younger now. Some people are buying homes older now. Obviously, in a metropolitan area, the prices are severely higher than they would be in, where I'm from in Ohio. What is, what's the thought process there? Everyone always says it's better to buy and pay into a mortgage than to pay rent that goes nowhere. Is that true? What would you recommend? Is the situation different depending on cities? Help us out there.
Yeah, that's a great question that I'm kind of on the fence on. I am not someone that's going to tell you like, yeah, buy a home is the best investment, this and that. I am not in that, group of people, to be honest with you, because first of all, typically your home that you buy as a primary home to live in is not going to be an investment per se. Like, you're going to live there, some, things break down, you have to fix them. I wouldn't consider like your primary home like an investment property. Like, an investment property is where you're renting it out, you're getting more money than you're putting in. Even if at the beginning that's not the case, maybe over time, like, you get to a point where like, yeah, I paid everything off, now everything, all the rent money comes to me, or the majority of it comes to me. That's an investment property. But you have to think about the fact when you own your home, it's not just like, let me pay my mortgage and my insurance and call it a day. Like, there's a lot of expenses that come with that. And I think, like you said, it would depend on where you live. Like, if you live, in places where houses are not that expensive and you can get tenants and stuff like that, that could be a good investment. But in New York, unless you're like a multi-millionaire or something like that, that can afford to buy a building somewhere in the city, or even a home, it's extremely expensive. So I'm on the fence with that. And I would say, like, maybe if I didn't live in New York, I would own a home. Like, I did buy a co-op in my late 20s. I was able to do that. But it's a little bit different than a home, because my co-op is like, if something breaks down, I call maintenance, they come and fix it. Like, I don't have to pay for anything like that. Like, there's no extra expenses. And for me, like, thank God, like, I'm not handy with anything. And, until my husband shows up, wherever he is, I need the maintenance people to come and fix things. So to me, that's a little bit different. Like, I just feel like it's a lot of expenses, and it could be a good investment over time, but you have to think about it's not like, for me, it's not like a heck yes, buy a home.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm on the fence. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Zach, how do you feel about that? You're going to go buy?
No, I think I'm in the place where like I would much rather rent and make sure I have a nugget of money to take care of me in the future. But I would much rather rent for all those reasons that like I want somebody else to like take care of the shit around the house. Like I don't want to fix my own sink.
Exactly. That's how I feel.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not owning anything. Maybe one day, when I reach a certain income bracket and I want something steady, I'll invest in a piece of property for myself. I don't know if I would necessarily rent it out. I don't know, Abigail. It's all TBD. I'm just trying to get through this week. You're already asking about my husband and my kids and my home. And like, I'm just trying to make it through Tuesday.
I'm pretending I'm on a first date with you.
I know, right?
I'm asking all the Zack questions. And then just to wrap this all up, Zack brought it up earlier with GameStop. Crypto. I mean, it has nothing to do with GameStop, but I feel like these are all like GameStop,
Trends.
cryptocurrency, Bitcoin,
yeah, I keep getting an email
Like,
about
what?
investing all of my money into Bitcoin. Like, should I be doing that?
And there's so many other small types of currency that are coming up. What's your recommendation there? Do you think that Bitcoin will be a major player?
So first, I have to say I don't own any Bitcoin. I've never have.
Okay.
At the beginning, when the whole craze started out, I remember it clearly. Like I think back in 2017-ish, I had drawn some of the money, and I had people like that's when all the fever of Bitcoin started to brew. All of a sudden, people asking me like, should I buy this or whatever? I was always very skeptical because the reason that makes Bitcoin go up is not based on anything other than demand. So people hoping and praying like one day, instead of the dollars and credit cards, we're going to use Bitcoin to pay for things. That is the expectation of people that are like diehard Bitcoin investors are like, okay, one day Bitcoin is going to be the number one currency all over the world. And that hypes up people and they get excited and then they buy into it, and that's what makes the price go up. It's very volatile. So one day it could be 57,000 per Bitcoin, the next day is 40,000 all of a sudden. So it's very up and down. But it has gone up over the years. Like I don't own it, but I've been watching it over time. It has gone up. I would say like if you want to like, I wouldn't be mad at anybody that would say, I want to buy a little bit of Bitcoin and see what happens. Like, I wouldn't be against that. What scares me is that people falling into traps. Like, for example, somebody messaged me not too long ago and said, hey, like, I gave money to somebody on Instagram that told me they were going to buy me Bitcoin and they just disappeared. Like their account just disappeared. It was not you.
I lost 50 grand.
Oh my God. So that's what scares me. There's a lot, like, there are legitimate ways to get some money into Bitcoin. And for example, like I went into my PayPal the other day and he said, oh, do you want to buy Bitcoin? I was like, where did that come from? Like I had never seen that before, but it came from like a legitimate company.
Your login, PayPal trusted account. Okay.
Exactly. It wasn't like some random email that I got from some random person or some Instagram DM. It was like a legitimate source. So I would say like, I wouldn't be against like betting a little bit on it if you want. I don't plan to, but see it like we'll see what happens. Don't think of it as an investment or of any type. At least to me, it's not right now. But you never know what can happen as the years go by, and it has gone up over time. It's just very crazy, and it's like a gamble to me. So I would be just very careful and just make sure that you don't just give money to random people that will tell you like, I own. There's a lot of that on Instagram too. Like that scares me. Like there's a lot of like out of nowhere, all these Bitcoin experts, like where, that come out of the blue. So just be very, very careful with giving your money to just strangers, pretty much.
Don't take candy from strangers and don't give your money to strangers are the two laws of life.
See, but there was a homeless man the other day that was asking me for money and he was going to give me like a bunch of Bitcoin for it. And I went for it. I haven't heard from him, but like I have faith.
It might come back.
It might come back. Yeah. If not in Bitcoin, at least in karma.
Yeah, true.
Zack, do you have any follow-up questions on everything that we've gone over? This has been like a crash course in investing.
We did investing, we did debt, we did Bitcoin. We even talked a little bit about GameStop, but I love that you brought up GameStop because my brother the other day was like, oh yeah, I invested in GameStop. I'm like, pay your fucking phone bill. Like, what are you doing?
Yes, exactly. No, but you're so right. Like people are like, oh my God, I'm gonna make all this money and my life is gonna be saved. I'm gonna buy a home with my GameStop money. Like It's just
So
crazy.
what? So obviously the intention with investing in stocks isn't just to get quick cash. So is it really just it's for long-term investment?
Yes, you should never have, if you're gonna, what the way I look at it is like you should only invest money that you can afford to leave alone. Don't touch it for the next like 3 to 5 years. At least 3 to 5 years or longer if you're not going to need the money anytime soon. If you need money in the next 6 months, in the next year, it shouldn't be in the stock market because the market is very crazy and up and down from one day to the next. It is very rewarding over time, over the years. Like I've seen it with my own eyes, but from one day to the next, it's too crazy. You don't want to play around. And another thing is that some people try to time the market, like, I'm gonna buy when it's down and sell it when it's up, and I'm just gonna be watching it all day. Like, who has time for that? Like, at least I don't. So like you want to be like long term, buy good companies, buy good funds, and leave it alone. That's it. Don't touch it. Like it's gonna fluctuate every day, but that's just how the market works. So
Okay.
Love it.
Abigail, should we do takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna put you on the hot seat first.
Okay, so we like to end every episode with our 3 biggest takeaways. And I learned a lot this week. Actually, this is an exciting Tuesday. Okay, so first one is pay off your high interest credit card debt first before even thinking about GameStop. Who is even going to GameStop right now? Like, do they still sell do people play games that aren't on their phone anymore?
That's the
Or
point.
what? Their Wii?
Crazy.
They're gonna get a Wii game for their Nintendo? Okay, so pay off your high interest. Yeah, right. Pay off your high interest credit card debt. Then once you have that sorted and taken care of, then you want to invest in your future, not like your short-term future so you can go buy shoes at Zara, but make sure you're investing in your long-term future. And then my last takeaway is if somebody comes up to you on Instagram and wants to sell you some Bitcoin, like take them up on your offer. No, not really. Don't do that. But ask them out on a date if they're cute.
Love it. My takeaways are buying versus renting. It's all dependent on your list of pros and cons of where you live and what you're looking for in a home, especially if you're not going to be renting out the home. If you feel like you are out of place or you're behind in your 20s and 30s, fret not. Just get started now. You still have time. And then I think that the last one would be if you're going to invest money in the stock market, again, plan for long-term investing and plan for situations with companies that have a track record of longevity.
Yes.
I think my other biggest takeaway is just find a sugar daddy.
It's just easier.
It's easier.
Zach's going to go on sugar babies when we're done.
I am. I really am. You think
He's
I'm
like,
kidding?
if no conversation made me want to do it before, this one did.
Sold.
And then where can people follow you for all this great information and for just like daily pick-me-ups?
Thank you. So yeah, my main account is on Instagram. So at Girls on the Money. I also have a Facebook group. If you put Girls on the Money on the search tab, it should come up. And from there, you can subscribe to my newsletter and just follow my content. And I'm always happy to hear from people, if they have questions or confused about anything that I talked about today. Like, what did you say about the online brokers versus apps or whatever, question that you have? I'm more than happy to like clarify anything. So you can slide into my DM if you want to. So that works. That works as well.
Amazing.
Love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was great.
All right, guys. Yes, thank you. We love chatting with you. I'm probably going to slide into your DMs and sell you some Bitcoin later. Thank you guys for listening. You can give me a follow at Just Plain Zach.
And you can follow me at Abigail_AF.
Love it. And don't forget to follow at The Adulting Podcast for all the latest show news. Go to theadultingpodcast.com to find out all the platforms that we're available on. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on Pandora, we're on Roku. So if you have a Roku device and you haven't yet subscribed to us, I don't know what you're waiting for because we look adorable today. Thank you guys for listening. And until next time, we'll be busy.
#adulting.